Hey guys, it's Ness at Cake Style. Today's cake is Scrump, which is Lilo and Stitch. It's Stitch's favourite toy actually, and he cuts that around. So I've turned it into a cake, or turned Scrump's head into a cake anyway. It looks super adorable. I'm really excited to share it with you. It has been a hugely requested cake, so remember to always leave in the comments section below different ideas for what you'd like to see me make, because you never know when I'm going to whip one of them up for you. So to make this cake, I used both sides of a 6-inch round ball pan, and I used our vanilla cupcake recipe. In the description box, there'll be a link to the blog post, and you'll be able to get all of the recipes from there, including the sweet buttercream that I'm using to fill this cake. Now, as you saw, I'm just using a really small hand-cut round cake plate that's only a couple of inches wide, and I'm attaching the cake to that. And once it's filled, I want to pop the cake into the fridge to set for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now I'm taking a bread knife, but you can also take a steak knife, and I just want to carve away a little bit of the top, just so that it's a little bit more circular on the bottom and a little bit more angular. You'll barely be able to tell, but I just don't want it to be a perfect ball. Now, it is so much easier with these cakes to just flip them over and hold them in your hand and go ahead and apply the buttercream to the bottom. Turn it up the right way, and then do the rest of the crumb coat. Again, you want to chill this for about 10 minutes after this step. Then you want to go ahead and apply a full coat of buttercream, not too thick still, but a little bit thicker than your crumb coat, just so that there's a nice surface of it to be able to add your fondant to. I've also tinted about 600 grams of fondant in a beautiful turquoise shade. Don't worry, I always leave in the comments exactly what I did to create that color, so you know how much of what food color to use. And I'm using some cornflour and a rolling pin to roll it out. You want to roll it out fairly thin, but not too thin, because otherwise there will be a little bit too much of it when you go to try and pull it back in underneath. Now, I wanted to show you exactly how to cover this, and so I really haven't cut out very much in this editing, because I want you to see how you go about doing a ball pan. And it's all about moving fairly quickly, but just going a little bit further down and a little bit further down, and just making sure that you're never really rubbing a spot that still has a fold. And this whole process takes about 2 minutes to get it all the way underneath, and then you can chop some off with a pizza cutter. Now I want to take one of my foam pads that I have had made. My sister made them for me, but don't worry, we have sold them in the past, and we are going to get back on track with getting these organized, because they're really handy when it comes to doing a ball pan. I'm going to use it to hold it while I fold in all of the fondant. And now you can either use a piece of acetate or just your thumb to just scrape off the excess. So I'm just using a piece of acetate to smooth it out. It's just made using a chocolate transfer sheet, and it gets out any of those little lines and lumps and bumps, and then doing the same on the top of the cake. Now you'll see that there's a little bit of marking on top from this. Don't worry, you can buff that away. You want to use some royal icing to attach the cake onto a cake board. Now, if you're going to be transiting this quite a distance, you want to go ahead and central dowel this instead. And I've added the details in the description box, and I'll put a link up in the card section of this video to be able to go to the BB-8 cake, and there you will see a 2-tier round ball cake done with a central dowel, so that you know exactly how you can do that if you need to take this cake on the road. Now I'm going to be cutting out 2 eyes, just using the back of a piping tip. It's just a large piping tip, and I'm going to be doing that in a deep blue and then a black, and that's going to be the buttons for Scrump's eyes. I'm just using a toothpick, or you can use a bamboo skewer, or you can even use a scribe tool just to make a few holes to make it look like buttons. And while I've got the black out and my hands get kind of messy with the black, I want to roll out a long sausage for the mouth. Now the pink bow is a little bit tricky because it needs to stay fairly thick, so you just want to roll it out a little bit and try and pinch one side so that it gets more of a bow shape. You're gonna make 2 of these and then just use a little sausage of the pink to wrap around and seal them both together. I'm gonna add some little indentations to make it look even more like a bow, just with a toothpick. And then I'm gonna get started with the crazy hair. Now the crazy hair is done using some fairly short bamboo sticks and yellow modeling chocolate. Now it looks kind of quirky what I'm doing, I know, and it's sort of a bit strange, but basically you want to be able to have the bamboo skewer in every piece of hair, but the modeling chocolate and the wood don't want to stick together. So what I'm doing is scrunching it together and kind of trying to force the air out, because every time you roll it with the palm of your hands, it gets air stuck in there and then it kind of puffs out around the wood. And so you want to constantly squish it until there's no air and roll it. And I tend to do this probably about 3 to 4 times for each piece of hair. And then you can just break off the excess so that you get different heights in this hair. Now, one of the most important things with this cake is to go ahead and pop all of your modeling chocolate things onto a baking tray with some parchment paper and slide it into the fridge for about 3 to 4 minutes. You don't want it to be too long or it'll cause condensation, but the aim is that they're going to be really, really nice and firm chocolate before you start applying them to the cake. So the first one that I want to put in is the bow, and I'm using a toothpick to attach that. Don't worry, it's not very noticeable, but if you're really worried, you can come back with our pink royal icing that we use later and just apply a little dab to the top, and then you won't even know that it was there. Next, I'm going to add in all the hair. Now make sure that you leave enough space for each strand, because you don't want it to be where you start to run it through and it can't fit because all the other wooden dowels are already in there, or bamboo skewers, sorry. So what you want to do is make sure that some go back a little bit further and some go to the side and things like that, just so that they all have enough room. Now I'm applying the eyes just using some water and a small paintbrush. You can use clear alcohol such as vodka, and it does make the process a little bit faster and it does make it stick a little bit more. I'm using some white royal icing to pipe the eye little stitch hole on that right hand side eye, which is the black one. And then I want to attach the mouth. So I've added a little bit of water into the center, started it off, given it a bit of a measure, and you can chop the ends with an Exacto knife, and then apply some more water or clear alcohol just so that you can follow that along, and just hold it there for about 10 seconds until it sticks. Now I have some pink royal icing that I'm going to be using for some little stitches, and I used a number 1 piping tip, which is quite small, so that these look fairly delicate. And I don't know about you, but I think he's looking pretty adorable. He was so much fun to make. It was one of those cakes where I kind of didn't want to cut it, but I also kind of wanted to show you guys. Everyone loved it when they got home and just thought that he was super adorable. And they're nagging right now to try and get a slice. So I hope that you liked it. Subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up if you like these videos. And again, remember to leave some comments below with other creations that you'd like to see me make. Thanks guys, and have an awesome week.